Hi, welcome to Little Mirrors. I'm Iolanthe.
And I'm Yule.
And this is our small housemate and our daughter, Agla. And today we're going to be talking about the role of parents' rooms. What are they? Are they weird? Are they positive? Do you need to have one in your workspace? That's what we're going to talk about today.
Cool. So, Iolanthe, when you first had Agla and you were going out into the world, what was your first experience of a parents' room?
Well, I didn't actually know the full breadth of their use. I remember the first time I used one in public, it was actually at our local, like just our mall, and I was kind of worried about if I needed to go to the bathroom, could I do so safely? Where could I put Agla's pram? And so I found that there was a parents' room and that there was stalls that were big enough for me to bring the pram into, and that made me feel like, okay, I could go out on my own with my baby and I wouldn't have to hold on for 2 hours or whatever. So I began to see the utility. Was it a fancy parents' room? No, not particularly. But did it have changing stations and bottle warmers? It had all that. So it actually made me feel a bit more confident about getting out and about with my child.
How private was it?
Very private. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's an open space where people of all genders could attend. But it felt private. It felt comfortable. I didn't feel uncomfortable.
Okay. And did your previous workspace have a parents' room?
Yes. My previous office, they had dedicated parents' rooms, and they also had meditation spaces, so they were almost an extension of that, but they had very comfy chairs you could sit in and feed your baby with a bottle, or you could breastfeed, and there was a changing station there. There was a bottle warmer, there was a microwave, there was a fridge for keeping breast milk separate from having breast milk being stored in the communal fridges. It was really quite pleasant. I hadn't ever seen a dedication to parents' rooms in a co-working or collaborative office space before in the same way I had at my previous office, which happens to be at Hub Australia.
Okay. Now, how essential do you think a parents' room is?
I think that it is, if you want women to return to work or to feel comfortable in a working space, I think it is important to have a dedicated environment where they know they can do things like express if they're pumping in a private and comfortable environment. The comfort of the environment actually plays into the role of the space. So when you're breastfeeding, you pump better and you feed better if you're relaxed, and that means ideally a comfortable seat and lighting. I used to think that was a little bit, I used to not appreciate that those aspects were important, those psychological, psychosocial aspects of breastfeeding, but they actually are. You will express better if you're comfy and in a cozy space. I think that if we are serious about having maternity leave across Australian society, and we're wanting to have more of our more representation of women at higher levels, at board level, that having the amenities for a parents' room is important. But parents' rooms aren't just for women. Tell me how you use parents' rooms when you're out with our daughter.
Probably the same way, or mostly the same way as a mother would.
Yes.
Only difference being I feed her from the bottle.
Yeah. So
still have to change nappies, still need to warm bottles, still need to calm them down, give them cuddles in a quiet space. So I don't imagine that would be very different from the way you use them.
Did you find, I guess that when you become a parent, you discover that it's a bit like going to Diagon Alley in Harry Potter. It's like this whole other world of amenities and things that if you're not a parent, you don't notice. How does the recognition of those spaces, how does that make you feel?
In a way, it makes me feel supported. I like, the thing that really strikes me about using a parents' room is that they're often in places that are really busy, and they're a nice quiet space, like a little sanctuary for you to go with your child. Yeah, like it's unusual suddenly having access to a space where you can go and just relax and be quiet in the middle of, say, a shopping mall or an art gallery, or out in the middle of the city somewhere.
What are some of the nicest experiences in parents' rooms in Melbourne that we've been in so far?
I think hands down that would be the NGV.
Yeah, the NGV one feels premium.
Yeah.
Really nice.
It's got like dark, soft furnishings. Nice comfy seats. It's got these long heavy drapes that separate off each of the individual parents' areas. There was even the ability to have two parents in the same space if you draw the curtains back in a different way, which I think you took advantage of to talk to another mother who was nursing her child there as well.
It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
They're important spaces, they actually, when they're done well, they give you confidence, and they make you feel like certain environments, particularly ones that are artistic, remain open and accessible to everybody. Just as having parents' rooms in a working environment make that space feel inclusive.
So, you recently moved office.
Yes.
What was that experience like as a parent?
I moved offices for a reason associated with parenting. I wanted to be able to be closer to my daughter's childcare. So I was super happy where I was, but I also needed to make a call about being closer to home and closer to childcare. And I found the search, there's a lot of co-working spaces, they've really sprung up. I didn't find it hard to find a space that would suit my team, which is fortunate. But I did find that there was no consideration for a parent's room in many of the spaces that I looked at. That felt that was a bit weird. I felt that was a bit weird. Yeah.
So, where did you end up going, and what was their parents' room like?
So I ended up choosing to go to a co-working space which is in Melbourne's north, and it's modern, and it does probably 85% of all the things that Hub did for our business. So it's comfortable, it's clean. We like it there. I would say that when we first went there, when I asked about there being a parents' room, the community manager seemed very surprised at my request. And when I brought my team in, and I was ready to commit to a lease to being ongoing in the space, they told me that it wouldn't be a consideration because it wasn't a commercial decision, that they could sell space for a podcast room, it had value, but that they couldn't sell space for a parents' room. I think that was a statement that was, when somebody's making a statement and they kind of don't realise the gravity of what they're saying, because it was quite exclusionary. Happily, I was able to negotiate with the developer, and they did create a space for me that was a parents' room. Is it as cosy and gorgeous? No. Is it an office chair in a room that I can lock? Yes. Does that fulfil what I need? Yeah, at the bare minimum, but I needed to negotiate to get that. But I'm proud that I followed up and that I wasn't excluded from a space that my business needed to be in. And I think it's really worth having that conversation, because it's actually not appropriate for spaces not to have amenities for breastfeeding people.
So, how commercially essential do you think a parent's room is this day and age?
Look, I think that for any business that is worth its salt in terms of wanting to be a space for diversity and inclusion that welcomes male and female entrepreneurs or workforces, you cannot but have a parents' room. Not only is it commercially valuable, because particularly in Hub's case, they're making quite a lot out of it. They're featuring the space as leading into the other values that organisation has, such as diversity and being family friendly. That's worth money. People will pay for a service, and having a parents' room is absolutely a commercial decision. But more than a commercial decision, it's actually one that if you choose to neglect, you put yourself at risk of discriminating against people according to the Sex Discrimination Act. You must supply in a workplace, you must supply a place for somebody to breastfeed or express. That's just what must be done. However, I still think that a lot of employers and workplaces, they're not aware of that. And it doesn't mean that they're, bad people or whatever. It might be occasionally a bit of an okay boomer moment, but it behoves us as parents and members of the community to negotiate for what we need for our families and our kids. and what we need to be able to make sure we go to work. So parents' rooms, they're an obligation, but they're also of huge commercial value.
What tips do you have for advocating to get one if a workplace doesn't have one?
If you're an employee and a workplace doesn't have one, it would make sense to go to your manager or HR and ask them to install one. If they don't give you one, then you need to, if you want to stay working for that employer or in that environment, then you can and maybe you should take it to the next level where you get formal advocacy to install what you need as a private space. When I told this story to some of my friends about really having to chase to get the developer to offer space within the co-working environment for me to have a breastfeeding and a pumping space, they're like, well, Iolanthe, like, they obviously don't share your values. Why would you want to work in that space? And I guess on one hand, yeah, like, typically if I feel like a space doesn't share my values, I don't really want to be there. But it had so many great things going for it, and it really suited my team, it suited my family situation. I really wanted to make it work, and I had hope that it would make for an environment that would, in the same way that maybe Hub Australia features the parents' room as a real benefit to their community, I had hoped that maybe my current workspace would also do that. It doesn't look like that's going to be part of their culture, but it was something that I needed, and so I thought, bugger it, I'm going to follow it up and I'm going to get what I need and actually what I'm entitled to as a citizen. So parents' rooms, they're kind of like magic, sometimes slightly stinky, but sometimes delightfully relaxing spaces to be in across Melbourne. If you could tell us what are some of your favourite parents' rooms. When we went to the NGV and we had a chat while we were chilling out and breastfeeding, another parent in there, it's like she opened up all the doors of wisdom and she told us about emporiums, great parenting spaces, other spaces that are good, all the galleries and a lot of public services have great parenting spaces. If you've got any tips, please tell us below in the link. Parenting spaces, they're important. If you don't have one in your environment, you're entitled to one. Solidarity. I'm Iolanthe.
And I'm Yul.
That's Agla. You've probably seen a couple of our cats. We're so glad that you're watching Little Mirrors, and tune in next time.
Bye.